All right, welcome to using Inkscape 1.2. So in this tutorial, we're going to basically change a paper size to match a piece of wood, and then we're going to put a box on it. So to start with, naturally, when it starts up, it's like a piece of paper, 8.5 by 11, like in Microsoft Word, but we want to match up the piece of wood to the size of the paper that we're going to use, or the paper size, or page size. All right, so the first thing we do is we go up to File. And from File, we're going to go to Document Properties. And in here, we can change the width and the height of the paper. Now, how big are we going to make it? That's a good question. Well, let's start off with, if here, I've measured out a piece of wood, and I know my piece of wood is 112 millimeters wide and 37 meters tall. Yours is going to be different, so do not add these numbers. All right, so we go back to the program, and now we simply type in width, 112, height, 37. We keep the units as millimeters, and we keep the display units as millimeters for now. All right, and then we close it, and all of a sudden you see the page is smaller, and it matches our piece of wood. Now, if I use the scroll button on the mouse, I can scroll up and down, and I suggest you use a mouse with software when you are in the wood shop, not just your fingers on the touchpad. So up and down on the scroll button goes up and down. If I use the control key on the keyboard, I'm holding it down, I can zoom in. Okay, and now I can scroll up and down again. So control key and the scroll button does this. And finally, the shift key and the scroll go side to side. Okay, so if you get used to that, it makes things a lot easier. So I'm going to zoom in here a bit, kind of make it bigger. All right, next thing, the toolbars across the top and bottom, they can sometimes be a little hard to see, especially for an old guy like me. So I'm going to go to Edit, I'm going to go to Preferences. From Preferences, I'm going to go to Interface, and from Interface, there's one called Toolbars. And I'm going to make this one a little bit bigger, so you can see on the side it's going bigger. And the top one, okay, I'm going to make those ones, and you can see all of a sudden they're going bigger as well. So I'm going to make it so I can actually see what's going on. And I'm going to close that off. All right, so now I got some bigger toolbars that I can see now, and I got my page. All right, first things first, let's make a rectangle. So I'm going to grab the square, okay, or rectangle square tool. Click on it. You can see now it's a different shape, and I'm just going to drag this, okay? And you can see it's filled in with black. Now, how big do I want that? Well, I eventually want it to be exactly equal to the outside of or the size of the page, minus 5 millimeters. So if I think back, okay, and I click on this now, okay, and it's clicked on. This is the selection tool right here, okay? You want to pick on it, and you look up in here, it's got some dimensions, okay? There's an X and a Y, and then there's a width, and then there's a height. So remember it was 112. So I'm going to take that 112 and minus 10, and I'm going to go 102 up here for width. And over here for height, it was 37, so I'm going to go 27. So basically what I've done is I've minus 5 millimeters all the way around. Okay, now you go, well, what good is that? Okay, well, we'll do this in a bit. Okay, well, I'll show you what's going to happen. Okay, so now we have the box. Now I don't want the box filled in, I just want an outline. So what I can do from here is I go to Object, and I go to one called Fill and Stroke. And when I click on Fill and Stroke, over here you see it shows up. Okay, so first things, and this is important, instead of HSL, we're going to go to RGB. So we pick that. And you can see now the colors are RGB, and we'll explain that later on. All right, now this is the fill of the box. I don't want to fill of the box, so I'm going to press the X. So now the box fill is gone. And you can see how I'm kind of moved over. So I'm just going to use my scroll key, and I'm going to move over so you can see this, okay? And now there's just an outline of a box. Well, I'm going to go to what's called stroke paint, and stroke basically is the outline. So we click on stroke, same thing. I'm going to go to RGB, this is important, okay? And maybe I want the line a bit thicker, so I can go to strokes, and I'm going to keep it as black, and I'm going to go stroke style, and from stroke style here, I can just kind of just keep pressing the plus button, right? You can see it keeps getting thicker. So I'm just going to make it 2. Let's see. And I'll hit enter. There we go. That's good enough. All right. So now the last part of this is I want to center this nicely. So I can go up to over here, and there's a little arrow that drops down. And I'm going to pick from here a line, and distribute. Okay, and then it's going to flip to here. And the next thing I do is as I come down here, there's one called relative to. And I'm going to make this one called page. And that's the white. So finally, when I come down, this one's center. You can see it just centered it vertically. And one below it is center it horizontally. And now I've got it centered nicely. Okay. Now I don't like the fact that there's that much of a border. So I'm going to go back up. I'm going to pick the selection tool right here. I'm going to select the outline. And instead of the width and stuff, now it's changed slightly. I'm going to go the width, instead of 102, I'm going to go minus, I don't know, 6 millimeters. So 112 minus 6 is 106. Okay. And over here in the height, instead of 37 minus 6 is 31. There we go. Now you see it's not centered. So I go back to here. I align it this way and align it that way. And there's my first start of using Inkscape, using the align and distribute, and using the fill and stroke. Okay, and we're going to end here, and you're going to go on to the next tutorial, which will show you how to add text and graphics and things like that. All right, good luck on the next tutorial.